Now, a new survey has highlighted just how little people are told by solicitors when they're buying a new home. The study by the National Leasehold Campaign group found nearly 9 in 10 people who bought a leasehold property weren't told what that meant. The group was set up after the scandal emerged of doubling ground rents, which have made homes impossible to sell on, as Claire Scott discovered when she tried to sell her home in Bolton.
This one fell through due to advice from solicitors to our buyers that they shouldn't buy it at all because of this lease clause that we didn't know even existed on it, which was that the ground rent of $295 a year doubles every 10 years until it reaches nearly £10,000 by 2060 a year. We got all our paperwork out and lo and behold it does state that clause, but at no point was it raised to us by our solicitors.
Many developers promised home buyers like Claire that they would eventually be able to buy the freehold of their new home. Instead, they were sold on to third parties. None of this was explained to thousands of people buying the properties. This new survey was put together by Cath Williams. She's a university lecturer and co-founder of the National Leasehold Campaign. Cath Williams, we've reported before that people didn't realise what leasehold really meant when they bought their homes, but this has crystallised this, hasn't it, really?
Yes, it has. Hello. As well as the 9 out of 10 not being able to tell the difference between leasehold and freehold by the solicitor, they're also not fully informed about other charges such as permission fees, estate rent charges, escalating maintenance fees and so on, which is now starting to impact upon the saleability of the properties, as potential buyers can't always get a mortgage, as those terms are also considered onerous.
And you bought a leasehold home yourself. How much were you told about it?
Well, nothing. I mean, in all the marketing, leasehold was not mentioned once. The first time I knew that my house that I was looking at was leasehold was after I'd paid the deposit, and I was going through a checklist with the salesperson, and she wrote in pencil on the bottom, leasehold. Which of course I was really shocked about and said, oh, why? And it was because she said the land was owned by the council, which turned out not to be quite true later on down the line.
Let me bring in Beth Rudolf, who's from the trade body, the Conveyancing Association. Beth, Cath says developers weren't transparent, but from the stats we've heard there, it sounds like solicitors aren't doing their job. We think we pay you to guard us at these times.
Certainly, the Cath statistics do bear out a general information lack in the whole process. We carried out a survey a couple of years ago about how much information people were getting, and what we established was that less than 2% of people were getting information prior to putting in their offer. Now, this is a huge problem because once you've put in your offer, as Cath says, you put down a deposit and then you're committed in your head and also in your heart because you've worked out where you're putting the sofa, where the kids are going to school. And at the point at which that information then comes through the conveyancers, then it's not clear as to what they've been told before, and how that complexity is explained is a massive problem.
So you're saying it's when people need to be told. I mean, we asked the Home Builders Federation about it. They said it's the job of the legal advisor to explain the lease to their client. And, it's not unreasonable to think that that's one of the solicitor's main jobs, isn't it?
Absolutely. And whilst it is the job of the solicitor to explain the legal position, it is the job of anybody marketing the property under the Consumer Protection from Unfair Trading regulations to disclose anything that would materially affect a buyer's decision-making process. Mm-hmm. So I think a doubling ground rent, something like that, something that would make the property unmarketable, that absolutely is material to a buyer's decision-making process. And we know that there are developers that National Trading Standards have taken complaints against to court and have settled on this basis.
Cath, what's your reaction to that?
I agree with everything that Beth has said, apart from the fact that if I was told that leasehold actually meant that I didn't own a brick, and that it was a long-term rental, that would have stopped me in my tracks right at the beginning, and I would not have gone ahead. So I don't think it's enough just to say, oh yeah, we'll give you all the details of the leasehold. I think buyers need to be given far more clear advice on what having a leasehold property actually does mean, because you don't own the property, you just own the right to live in it for a fixed length of time.
And what about choosing a solicitor? You know, how much choice did you feel you had? Or do people feel they have generally? Okay,
well, personally, I fell into the trap of using the developer's recommended solicitor. And in our survey, so did 58% of the respondents. And when you look and read the comments that came along with that in the survey, most people were coerced into using the recommended solicitor, which, you know, I don't think is the right way to go.
Beth Rudolf, this will have to be a final answer, so if you could be by brief, but that can't be right, can it?
No, it can't be. Again, consumer protection from unfair trading regulations say that you shouldn't be doing anything that impairs the freedom of choice or conduct. So, no, that's not right, and they shouldn't be doing that.
Beth Rudolf, Cath Williams, thank you very much indeed. I feel it's not the last we've heard of this.